Hello and welcome to the JoomlaForGeeks.com Joomla Users Group of Bothell training series. Today we're going to be talking about how to install Joomla 1.7, doing a manual install on a web host that has cPanel as the web hosting control panel. So I'll be talking you through the manual process for setting up Joomla on a 1.7 version as a fresh install. So this is what you'll use if you don't currently have a Joomla 1.5 or 1.6 site up and running. This will allow you to start with a fresh, clean install and test it out for whatever you need to use to create your website with. So the first place to go to get the official release copy of Joomla is joomla.org. You notice that it's been upgraded to 1.7 at this point. And so the first thing that you'll do is click on download and scroll down. You'll notice here that you want to get this copy right here. Zip. Click on that. Click on that to download it. You'll notice I've already downloaded mine here, so I won't go through that and make you wait for that. So once you've got it downloaded, you're going to want to go and log into your cPanel control panel. So whatever your domain name is, I'm just using an IP address for a VPS that I use for testing. But you'll have your domain name here, and then however your host wants you to access your cPanel. Mine, I can just go directly to the port number, which is by default 2082. But it might just be your domain name / cPanel, or some hosts go with a cPanel / domain names dot whatever. But whatever method you use to get there is what you'll need to do. And then once you log in, you'll see your control panel. Yours will look different, perhaps, with more or less features and maybe a different color scheme or graphics here. But this is the basic layout. So you'll go down to your file manager area and click on you usually got two options, a legacy file manager and file manager. I like to use the file manager. And then you'll want to select your web root. You don't need to show hidden files, and just click on go. You'll notice that I've already uploaded this to the server, but should you need to upload it from your hard drive, you would go to the upload, and yours may look a little different here. You'll have to take a look and see what your hosting allows you for the maximum file size. Mine, I've got it set at infinite, so I can upload as big a file as I want to, but some hosts give you a file size restriction on this, so you just have to make sure that it will allow you to upload the size of the zip file, which is currently under 10 megabytes. So usually most hosts give you a 10 megabyte, 25 megabyte. Some of them give you a gig. Some of them are unlimited. Just have to take a look here, because otherwise you'll start uploading it and you'll get an error if it's too big a file for you to upload. And then some hosts will give you the option to set the permissions before you upload it. Some won't. But if they do, you want to make sure it's set this way: 644. Read, or read for all, and write for the user. And then click choose file. Find it on your hard drive wherever you've saved it. Click on it. Open. And depending on the version of cPanel you've got, it might alert you to this. It might not. I'm not going to overwrite it because I've already got it uploaded. So once you've got it uploaded, depending on the speed of your connection and your host, could take a couple of minutes or so. But you'll notice that this file size is 7.85 megabytes. So if your hosting solution limits you to the file size to something less than that, you're going to have problems getting that to your server. So you'll have to use an alternate method, perhaps an FTP program. So you click on this and you click into so you'll click on that, highlight it, and then go up to extract. And then you want to make sure it goes into the public HTML as your root directory if this is a fresh install. If you're building this on a server that you have more or other Joomla installations set up already, you'll want to change this to whatever directory that you want to put it into. So like a slash and Joomla 1.7 for example. But for this one I've created this account just for 1.7, so I'm going to put it in the public HTML, which is the folder that when people type in your domain name or your IP address, it will look into this folder and look for a file called index.php or index.html or index.htm to try and figure out what to display to the user. Depending on how your cPanel settings are, if you don't have anything in this directory, sometimes you'll just see an error message that says you're not allowed to access this directory because there's nothing in it. Sometimes you'll just see a directory listing of blank files, or you'll see nothing at all. So we want to extract that zip file. So we'll click on extract. You'll notice that it extracts a bunch of files that come out of Joomla 1.7. And when it's done, your public HTML directory now has all of the files in it. So at this point there's just a couple of things left to do. You're going to move back to your cPanel control panel, and you're going to go down to your database, area. Now, presuming that your host has the MySQL database set up and available to you, you'll have a number of icons available to you down here. Usually these right here are the default ones that most hosting companies make available to you. So you click on the MySQL database icon, and this is where you will create the database that will hold all the tables and information that your Joomla site uses. So I'm going to give mine a name here. What you name your database is irrelevant, really. You can make it a cryptic kind of message to make it harder for some hacker to guess, but I'm just using a simple one for me to remember because it's not on a mission critical system. So you type in the name here, and then the name of your database is going to be, depending on how your host is set up, you will usually see your username for your cPanel account will be here, and then an underscore, and then whatever you call your database name will be typed in here. So you click on the create database, and then it's done. And then we go back, and now we have to create a user for that database. So it just defaults with a user with the same name as the database, whereas the username. So example. So just keep things simple. I like to always name my user as the same name as my database. And then I'm going to give it a password. I like to use fairly strong passwords, as you can see here. Now this is something that if your browser doesn't support JavaScript, or if you've got it turned off, you won't see this indicator here. So you might want to check your browser settings or upgrade to the newest current version of whatever browser you're comfortable with. Or you can use this password generator here, which will just generate a random string of characters that are very strong. So passwords, for the longer the better, of course. At least 8 characters, at least a uppercase and lowercase letter, a number, and a special symbol, like a pound sign, at sign, whatever, to make your passwords hard to guess. And then you create your user here. So you want to make sure that nobody's looking over your shoulder while you do that, otherwise you'll see the password. And so you've got this in here, and then down here you've got to add that user to the database. So it gives you a drop down here with all of the users that you've got defined. You can have as many users as you want for your database. You only really need one, but there might be some other uses for your database that you want to use a different user for, which is fine. Database here goes on all the databases that you've got defined for your cPanel account. So you make sure that the username and the database are lined up right, and then click on Add. And here's the important part: you want to make sure to give your user all privileges. So because that user needs to be the super user to control everything about the database that Joomla needs it to do. So just make sure everything's, if you have more available to you for some reason, just make sure that these are checked at least. And make changes, and that adds that user to that database. So now we're done here. So you just want to remember your database name, your database username, and the password that you assign to that database user, because you'll need that in the setup step when you're configuring Joomla. So now we're going to go to the root directory. So here's my IP address, and it's just tilde in my username. So boom, there you go. You'll see that it's currently, I'll need to refresh this, but this is what was there before I extracted the zip file. So we just refresh this, and we'll see all of the new code, and the code will execute because it's been expanded, and this is the first thing you'll see. So pick your language. I'm going to use English. You know, whichever English that you want to use, Australia or United Kingdom English. Different spellings and stuff for United Kingdom and Australia. They spell some words a little differently than you do in the United States. But this just picks the language that the menus and stuff are going to be created in, and error messages and dialogues and stuff that Joomla gives you will be in this language, whatever you select here. Then click Next. And then this is a check to make sure that your hosting environment is set up correctly. Checks to make sure it's got the version of PHP that you need. You want to see yeses all the way through here. If you see no's in any of these, you'll want to check with your hosting provider to ask them to give you support for these things. And this configuration.php writable, that's something that you can control in your file manager. We're back in the file manager. So PHP So that just means that it's going to try and create a file called phpconfig. Or configuration.php. It's going to want to be able to write to this file, so it just means that the file permissions on this root directory here are going to need to allow writing to it. That's why you might need some help from your hosting company tech support to make sure that you can make this public HTML file writable. If this were to say no. These here, all of these should be green. This display errors is a setting that I've got turned on my cPanel account because I want to see errors from PHP. Again, you can contact your hosting company for support on turning this feature off if this says on. But most of the time, most hosting companies these should all be should all be green. They should all match these recommended settings. And so if you needed to make changes, you could go make them and then come back here and check again to see if these are all yes and these are all green. Unless you don't need them to be. These are just recommended. These are the actual settings. So click next when you're done with that. And this is the open source public general license for GNU, so you can take a read through that. Fairly short as licenses go. And then click next. And here's where you have to remember your settings. So unless you need to use MySQLi, which is an embedded SQL database, where it's just one file instead of a system of files. But for the most part, you're going to want to select MySQL, and the host name is usually going to be localhost unless your hosting company has told you to use a specific database server name. They might have given you an IP address to use or a web URL that will point to their MySQL servers. Here's the username, so that's going to be that example _ Joomla. And I use 17 and my password. And the database name is and this is something new for 1.7. The table prefix is something that gets assigned to the database table names so that it keeps them unique on your MySQL database. All of the there's a bunch of tables that get created in your database from this process, and each of them will have this prefix in front of them. This is randomly generated. In the older versions of Joomla, this was set to be JOS. But with the new auto upgrade and update features in 1.7 and some of the new advanced features of 1.7, they want to make this randomly generated table name. So all your tables will be now created with this random prefix here. This is a fresh update, or this is a fresh installation, so we don't have to worry about this here. But if you were installing this over an old Joomla 1.7 site, you just have to decide what you wanted to do here. So I would suggest backing them up, because if you made a mistake, you'd want to be able to go back and get the original data files that you had. But for a new install, it doesn't matter, either one, because there's nothing there in the first place. So click next. And so most users will you can go ahead and skip this part, but say you knew you wanted to be able to use the FTP layer to upload things, have a little more control and more permissions and so forth for stuff like that. You'd want to go through and type in your FTP username and your password and your root path and that information there. But you can just click next, and then here's where you want to give it the site name. We'll just call this example 17. And you're going to want to use an email. This is the email that the site is going to use to communicate various system messages and alerts and so forth to the super admin on the system. And then here's where you can type in the login name is what you use to log in to manage your system. And then a super user password. Again, make them strong. At least 8 characters. Uppercase, lowercase, special symbols. If you're just installing this to experiment around with, I would very strongly suggest installing the sample database. This will give you a bunch of helpful documents and give your site some content so you get to see how it looks. But if you've done this before, you wouldn't really be watching this video, but you would probably not want to install the sample data, because then you'll just have to go back and delete a bunch of stuff. So go ahead and say yes to install the sample data. It installs it, and then click on next. Scroll back up so you can see the button, but click on next. So now it's done. Is there. When Joomla does its installation process, it creates an installation directory with utility files and stuff like that it uses to create directories and populate your database and all that. After it's done, it's not needed anymore, and it's a security issue if you leave it there. And so Joomla gives you the quick option to remove it here. This works on most hosting companies' settings. Sometimes you'll run into a permissions error, and you'll have to talk to your hosting company about that to make sure your permissions will allow the scripts, the PHP scripts, to write to and change the permissions of various folders. Again, you'll have to talk with your hosting company about that. So you need to go ahead and do that, and then your site is going to be up and running. So you can go to the site, this will be the front end that the public sees when they come to your website, and then this is the administrator. So what I'd suggest is take a look at the front, and voila, there you are, fully installed Joomla. It doesn't really look a whole lot different from the other Joomla from 1.6. But there are some interesting new things here, so that's kind of cool. So it's got some links out to Joomla sites. Really cool. Very, very neat. Bookstore, merchandise, all very cool. New Joomla shop coming soon, very cool. Alrighty, so let's say you want to go in and modify your backend. There's some setup things you should do. So you want to go home here and log in as your admin, or actually just go here, Well, let's see what happens when you log in here. Let's see if there's anything new for 1.7 in the front when you log in. Nothing new. It just gives you access to your edit your documents now. Yay. Profile. Edit your profile, change your name, stuff like that. Site administrator here. This is the back-end site where you'll be able to log in and control all the features and settings of your Joomla site. And so one of the new features of 1.7 let's go to the global configuration. Cool. You want to set your time zone to your local time zone here. So there's America. Otherwise, your postings, when you create articles and stuff like that, sometimes they won't publish immediately if you want them to. So the time the created date will be a little bit ahead of when you actually create them, or behind, or whatever, and it just won't synchronize, right? Save and close. See what's in the extension manager. Update. So this is a new feature for 1.7. Now that they've got to 1.7, they've implemented this update feature that will automatically update your site as they come out with security patches and version 1.7, if they come out with version 1.7.1 or whatever like that. And every time you go in here to update, it'll check, and if there is an update available, it'll give you the option to click on the update, and it will be in here of where the updates are available. So there you go. That's the new feature of 1.7 that I've seen so far. Allows you to look at all your extensions, and this is a nifty process if you haven't, if you're just coming from 1.5. Sometimes you'll upload a component or something and it won't successfully install, or it'll throw an error or something like that. So you can come here and discover ones that haven't that you've had to upload manually to your template or your components directory, to your temp directory, and this will let you finish the installation of them there. Any warnings? So sometimes you have to go in and create that PHP temporary directory. That's something you'll have to check with your host about. PHP ini is a file that you'll have to experiment with. So here's information that you'd need to understand about your site here. This is how your PHP settings are set. This is the configuration file for your site. Interesting information in there. So all the directory permissions. So you see here the configuration.php is unwritable. At this point, it's a good thing. It's been changed to unwritable after the site was installed. So this is the information in this file is here. And with this, I've got passwords to your database and all the stuff that a hacker would need to perforate your Joomla site and deface it and whatever. So everything else is writable, which is good. But in PHP information, this is about the version of PHP that you're running and all of the things that are on and so forth. So this is good information to get the hang of what this means and all these settings and libraries, PDO and stuff like that. This is all controllable by your host. Just talk with your hosting tech support if you need more things to be available to your PHP and so forth. Help, always available, goes directly to the help.joomla.org. So this is always the most up-to-date current documentation that's available for Joomla. That's officially supported by the Joomla organization, the core organization. And it's context sensitive, so it will give you help about what you're looking at, what page you're on. So it's very helpful. That's neat. Useful Joomla links here correctly to the places you need to go. That's nice. That's a neat extension. Again, this is all just the site is all filled with well, this is the back-end site. So yeah, this will come with all the Joomla installs from this point forward. This will just continue to get better and better as more volunteers jump on the project and make this a really robust program. Media manager, cool. Detail view. Neat. Let's see. Let's see if they have. Let's see. Control panel. What am I looking for? Global configuration. I'm going to see if they've got the Joomla uploader. Where is that? Oh, another thing I like to do is set this to 100 and this to 100. Just whenever you're looking at a list of things that you can see more of them. If you're on a really busy site, you wouldn't want to turn that up too high. It just, everybody that uses the site would be seeing a list of 100 things on the various reports that Joomla creates. And I just balance the speed of your site and so forth to how responsive you want it to be for the public. Let's see. Media manager options. Listen. I'm gonna work on your settings. This has been a consistent problematic feature. It's real sensitive to the hosting environment that it's on. But let's see if we can upload multiple files. Oh, yeah, it doesn't seem to work. Darn. No, didn't work. So that's the basic overview of Joomla 1.7. Have a great day.